This is Jonathan Agger, Fifth Pro Boxing Fans, joined by journalist Dan Rafael. Dan, it's been a little while. How's things been?
Everything is good, Jonathan. As always, I appreciate having me on.
No problem. Of course, you're still going on with your Substack. Everyone seems to have one these days, but you started it first, I think. But yeah,
I'm the pioneer.
how's everything going with that?
It's good. It's been since 2021 I've been doing it. So I'm entrenched. Let's put it like that.
danrafael.substack.com, and of course, Big Fight Weekend on YouTube podcast. So check that out, Dan. A lot going on recently. The last few days in boxing. The major story was I don't know if you tuned into the UFC card on Saturday, but Tyson Fury appears out of nowhere. Says he has an announcement. Dana White says he'll announce something soon. But Spencer Brown, Fury's manager, came out today and says there's no deal with Zufa, and he's still promoted by Frank Warren. But yeah, what have you made of the whole saga?
Well, I mean, I think like a lot of people, I was surprised to see that Fury was at that event because he hadn't been allowed to be in the United States for the last several years. Now he apparently is. He brought his wife Paris with him. I have to believe it's one of two things: either the fact now that Kinahan is in custody with the authorities, that maybe that eased up on folks that were not allowed to be in here because of their previous associations with him. But more likely, it would seem to me that because if he's going to be doing something with Zufa and or Dana White, plus his own relationship with Turkey, who was heavily involved with Zufa and that whole situation. And Dana White is, a good friend of the President of the United States, that if the President of the United States calls up the State Department or whoever is responsible for visas and passports and that kind of stuff and says, let this dude in, they're going to let the guy in. So if the President of the United States says this guy's good to go, he's good to go. So he was there. I didn't watch the entire event. I'm not a big UFC fan. I'm a very casual, let's say, MMA viewer. So but I subscribe to Paramount Plus, not so much for UFC. I subscribed to it because I wanted to watch the Zufa events. But I did watch, probably the first, half an hour, 45 minutes or so of the show. And it was certainly interesting in terms of the backdrop being at the White House. I only live like half an hour from there. So, I mean, I've driven past the White House many times just going, if I'm in Washington, D.C. and you're just riding down the street. But obviously they did up a whole big thing to, have the octagon and all the bells and whistles there. And Tyson Fury appeared, and Conor Ben was there, and other Zufa boxing related folks were there as well. As far as Spencer saying that they haven't done a deal with Zufa, that may be the case that they don't have a contract with Zufa. But my understanding is that the deal that he has for the Tyson Fury Joshua fight, the contract is with Sella. Sella is a major stakeholder in Zufa. They're the folks that pay them a fee to administer to their events. So maybe it's lawyering and parsing words or whatever. So he probably isn't promoted by Zufa, and meaning Dana, but that doesn't mean that they're not going to be involved with this fight with Tyson Fury and Anthony Joshua. And yes, he still does work with Frank Warren, but not under an actual promotional agreement. And Frank would tell you this. I mean, it's been pretty much since he fought Francis Ngannou that the Sella folks, Turkey and the Riyadh Season or Ring Magazine, however you want to describe it, they've been the promoters of Fury's events. And Frank's company, Queensberry's been involved from the standpoint of like the logistics of the show, kind of like Eddie Hearn likes to talk about when he does fights involving the Sella stuff with Turkey, that they are the show facilitators, if you will. They handle the logistics. Make sure the guys have their medicals done, right? Make sure that their airfares are handled. Make sure that if there's hotel necessities, make sure that the ring shows up in place, that the signage is in the right place, and all the things that you have to deal with the commissions and the regulators. So Frank's still involved. It's not like they've cut him out. He's still getting paid and just, not making the decisions, I guess, is the point.
Yeah, because a lot of people in the UK probably, people in the US probably don't care, but in the UK, a lot of people have been saying, well, is Frank still involved? Is he not involved? But by the sounds of it, he does still have involvement.
Oh, no, there's no question. He absolutely, definitely has involvement. To the level that he once did is probably diminished, but that's because the contract was over. But I think it's Tyson. And look, I mean, I know it's a business, but it seems to me, and I don't know this for sure, but it feels like Fury has a certain level of, he likes working with Frank. They respect each other. They've known each other. They've done good business together. So even though his situation may have changed from the standpoint that now Turkey and the folks he works with basically are the ones that pay everything, he still wanted Frank involved to some degree. And Frank has a company that can certainly put on an event. They do all kinds of big events every month that don't even involve Tyson Fury. Obviously, they got a regular schedule of events and a tremendous roster of fighters. So they're perfectly capable of doing that. And that's what they continue to do.
Now, it was reported in The Athletic today, I believe, that Las Vegas is the front runner to host Fury Joshua. What are you hearing?
That's funny because before that athletic story came out, I spoke about that on another YouTube channel where that is true. And now there's been a lot of conversation about what's in the contracts for Fury and what's in the contracts for Joshua. It is my understanding that Tyson Fury's contract actually says that Zufa is not allowed to be a part of the show. But like any contract, boxing or otherwise, if the two parties or three parties or however many parties are involved all agree to an amendment, they can change the paperwork. That doesn't take very long. You do a one-page thing and everybody signs off on it. So that's not an issue. The same way that it will come to pass, as Eddie Hearn has said on a number of occasions, that in the contract that AJ has for this fight, that it says that the fight must be in the United Kingdom. Well, they probably will end up making a change to that. They'll probably get paid something for their trouble. But in the end, it's going to wind up being most likely in the United States. Las Vegas has a good possibility. I'm told that a lesser possibility might be Madison Square Garden, where Anthony Joshua probably does not have good memories of having suffered a massive upset knockout loss to Andy Ruiz. But Las Vegas seems to be the likelihood. And it's not so much that everybody wants to do the fight in Las Vegas. It's where Netflix wants to do the fight. And because Netflix is paying the biggest money to be the broadcaster, they have some sway in where the fight's going to take place. They feel like, this is what I am told by people involved in this event, that there's just a bigger market of viewers in the United States and in that that they would like to have the fight here. They know that the Brits are going to watch the fight wherever the fight is. Probably a lot of the Brits will travel for the fight, and fill up the seats in Vegas, wherever they put the fight. But they want the fight in the United States prime time. And the way they do that is put the fight in the United States. And so having that in Las Vegas, the fight capital of the world, the place where Tyson Fury has fought several times, and Anthony Joshua will be making his debut, there'll be a lot of interest, I think. Maybe not as much as if there had been in Britain in terms of the British audience. But when I look at that, I'm like, I get it. I totally get the business. But it does kind of break my heart that a fight like that, that the British fans in particular have looked forward to for so many years between these two guys, is going to wind up so many thousands of miles away, to make it almost impossible to come to the fight unless you save up your money and travel and take the time and then go spend. I'm sure there'll be a good portion of fans that do that, but certainly not for everybody. And it's just it's disappointing. And I say that as somebody that would be, I'll go to the fight in Vegas. I probably wouldn't make the trip to the UK for the fight, but that fight belongs in the UK. It belongs at Wembley Stadium. It belongs at Tottenham. It belongs in Cardiff, wherever they have a big stadium. But they have it in the Las Vegas, one of the big venues there. So be it.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see what if they do it for a UK primetime audience as well, because otherwise you're looking at 4 a.m.
Well, that's the whole point. I mean, I can't. It's not like Netflix has clued me in on their scheduling process, but I think the whole point of having it in America is to have it in our prime time, which means it will be, I guess, an early morning fight for the Brits. Set your alarms and get up at 5 o'clock in the morning or whatever time it's going to be.
Yeah, not sure how well that's going to go down, but we'll see what happens. Joshua's still got a fight to get through. Fury probably the same. So I guess we can talk all we want, but until they both get their fights out of the way, this is kind of all just speculation, isn't it?
Well, it's speculation from the standpoint that it will go away if they lose, but that's the plan if they win. In other words, that's probably already memorialized in whatever paperwork they're dealing with, that's what they're going to do. But like you said, these guys are at a situation and a stage of their careers where anybody can lose. I don't care who they're fighting. I mean, I get why they're giving Joshua a fight ahead of time after everything that happened in December with the car crash, and both in terms of his own physical situation from the car accident, plus just dealing with all the mental anguish after the death of the friends and the whole thing. I get that. But when Tyson Fury fought the fight against Makhmudov, that I thought was the tune-up. Like, why is he getting another one? So they're playing with fire. I mean, I've said it many times. We saw what happened when they had a signed contract for Anthony Joshua and Deontay Wilder to fight. They both took tune-ups on the same card. Anthony Joshua went out there and won his fight by a knockout. And what happened? Deontay Wilder lost in an upset, and the fight went down the toilet. And you would be a real shame to get to this point finally to have the signed contract for Fury against Joshua and have something happen to either one of them.
And what are you expecting Dana White's involvement to be should this fight happen? Because obviously, if it is on Netflix, neither Eddie or Frank would be able to be sort of the face of it, given they have deals with DAZN, I believe. So would Dana White be the face? Do you think?
I'm not so much sure what it has to do. If the zone, the part of it is an issue, but yeah, I think Dana White probably would be the face. I mean, and I say that because he came to his press conference after the Billum Smith fight against Rizicki that was in Bournemouth, England, 2 weeks ago, and was asked about that, and he basically said, all the things you would expect him to say, that I'm doing the fight. Go ask Eddie, does he know where the fight is, and all the things that they were talking about. And he made the point, says, why would I just sit here and lie straight out, just a bald-faced lie for something that within a few weeks is going to be provable one way or the other? So my perspective was there's probably a gray area that they've got to square away a few things, but I didn't doubt that Dana was going to be involved in some capacity, and that seems as though that's going to be the case. What will be interesting is to see, because Frank is still working with Fury, even if he's not the actual promoter, and certainly Joshua and Eddie still work together, how that's going to work. Are they going to all be able to be in the same place at the same time and deal with each other? I mean, look, we're adults here. These guys are veteran, experienced boxing promoters and businessmen. They don't have to hold hands. They don't have to kiss each other and hug each other. They don't have to be nice to each other, but they can do business together to make a shitload of money. Act like a professional. And that's what I expect them to do.
Dan, moving on to Moses Atama, I saw you reported a new date for his fight in August, and then I believe Filip Hrgović was reported as front runner or something by the ring. What's the latest with Moses?
I'm not sure about what the ring might have reported, but Atama has been moved on to the 29th. I'm told there were some issues in terms of that date at the O2 Arena. So they'll go the 29th instead of a couple of weeks earlier. But as far as the opponent, they're definitely still looking for an opponent. Look, when Filip Hrgović re-signed with Queensberry, he had become a free agent. He had been offered a deal with Zufa Boxing. He and his manager, Keith Connolly, they decided to take the deal that was offered by Queensberry. And, meanwhile, Connolly signed some of his other fighters with Zufa, like Edgar Berlanga and Richardson Hitchens and others. But they felt like, Queensberry, they've got the roster of heavyweights. Philip still had designs on, winning a world title and fighting, some of the more well-known heavyweights. So he had the fight that they gifted him against David Allen. He won without barely breaking a sweat. Suffered a small little cut that should not keep him out of an August fight. And I am told that he just does not want to have a fight that quick. So he's balking at the August fight. Now, if they sweeten the pot, maybe he'll take the fight, whatever. But I know, because I spoke to folks literally yesterday about the situation with that fight. Queensberry Promotions is actively looking for, the supposedly the best heavyweight they can find that will take the fight under those conditions in terms of the timing and the money that's available, and try to do that fight. Now, you go down the roster of the fighters that are involved with Queensberry, they got a tremendous heavyweight roster, but there's not really anybody that's available. If you go down the list of fighters, okay, well, Tyson Fury is fighting either a tune-up on August 1st and then Joshua. Daniel Dubois and Fabio Worley are committed to one another for a rematch, so they're not going to be the opponent. I thought maybe once if Hrgović was going to take the fight, maybe Tony Yoka would be the opponent while he's signed to fight Gassiev in Russia. I thought, well, maybe they'll get Joe Joyce, and then Joe Joyce, was going to be on that undercard in Russia, so they're out of the picture. You just, keep on going down the list, and there was nobody really left that they had in their stable. They'll have to probably go outside of the Queensberry roster, which is not a problem. They have no problem making fights with other promoters these days, and we shall see what happens. Unless I hope that Filip Hrgović has a change of heart and comes back into the picture.